Okay, this is the final one of my monster reviews. I was originally intending these to be like, oh, I'll just have all the rare monsters in the final one. It didn't end up working out that way because of how long the episodes were. It would have been one episode much longer than all the others. So one single monster has been moved to the previous episode. If you here to see the Zan fusions, they're in the previous episode. And now moving on to everything else. And Joker is so indirectly referenced. Okay, they've changed the diversified. Like, it did look kind of similar to Gali in the first game. Gosh, I'm not a huge fan of this design for it, but I like all the things it was fused with. I'm wondering what Gali will look like if they've changed Gali to diversify it too, because this does feel like the face is less Gali, but the body is more Gali because it's all floating and doesn't have the arms and stuff. And it's not too much consistency with the colour scheme actually. None of the colours on the cipher are mostly in the body, and the wings being the same colour as the coat doesn't look as good, but I do like the head. It does feel very like slasher movie grandpa. Note, I changed my mind on the head immediately when I remember what the old head looked like. My peak idea here would be to combine the both of them, like you could just have a grandpa clown who also has hair. Some breeders say Joker is too evil to be considered a monster. It's almost like it's a demon. Ooh. But yeah, let me just... I really don't remember Joker looking like this. Like, I can't remember what it actually looked like though. Yeah, it really was a clown! I'm sorry, this is vastly better in every possible way. Like, the glow on the inside of the coat, the fact it has distinct arms with, like, clear ghostly body parts, the mask being a clown, like, it works great as an evil counterpart to Gali, which I think is what they were actually introduced as. Like, here's the bad mask guy, here's the good mask guy. And it's clearly distinct because Gali is just a mask and the cape of an invisible body. Here's one which has part of a body but just no legs. And the scythe being all one colour, all grey, it doesn't make it stand out as much. And the elaborate purple robe with the really cool yellow highlights on the yellow collar. That's so nice. It's such a shame, it's so unfair I have to say that revealing a little angry grandpa face underneath really dragged the design down. Oh, and there was a version where it had the hair but also still a mask. Is that what they're trying to go for in it? Because, no, it clearly has a nose and a mouth drawn on the icon. And yeah, you can see that. Like, no, I just don't like it. This medium state here is at least something. But again, the mask doesn't look as cool as when it was a clown mask. And the arms don't look as cool when it doesn't have arms. Okay, I like this recolor of it in Monster Rancher Advance. At least that's like a little bit interesting. Again, why did they get rid of the purple? It's not like you had to get rid of the purple to have black and yellow. It also had black and yellow and red. Like, every single thing is the same except the purple. That's just baffling. Again, after its very first appearance, it just became bad. And it never turned back. Like, was the bad one popular? Did people think it was more interesting when it looked closer to Gali? Odd. But, I gotta say, they made really good secondary fusions for it. I hope all its other fusions are actually equally as fab. And you know what personally annoyed me? The icon for the item you get to unlock the Joker, it looks like the actual Joker mask from the previous games, just like with the bottom part cut off without the clown nose. And then his design just doesn't look like this in game. Why are you even getting it from a mask if it doesn't have a mask and it hasn't had a mask for like 5 years? This should be a Gali, this should be a Gali, this should be a Gali, this is exactly what Gali is, a floating invisible body. That was the whole defining characteristic of Gali. You've just made the same monster twice but with a shittier face. Maybe they have changed Gali, like, the fact the icon looks exactly like the old Gali makes me think they haven't, but maybe they changed the entire body, maybe they gave it boring human man legs or something to make up for this. I am both thankful they didn't and salty it's exactly the fucking same, but again, drawn worse. We'll get to that. I think it's either the next one or the one after. It's a good idea. It's a great idea, just of a floating armor, and it's a cool pick for the armor. It's more in the theme rather than the actual elements of the monster. Like, there's no colors from whatever this mysterious armor thing is. It's a different type of armor entirely, but it's one that looks really cool. Like, the highlights again of like the bronze parts on the silver, and how the spikes of the shoulder pads are going inward. It makes it very clear that, oh, there really is no body. It's not just an invisible body, there is no body, because he'd be dead if that happened. And it's also a really cool idea. It seems like only have the front half of a helmet with no actual helmet attached to it. It's all cool, but aside from having a scythe, nothing here says it's a Joker. I'm imagining like it puts the scythe down for a second to like get a butter knife and do some toast, and in the space of those 5 minutes it technically became a Gali. Also mysterious, it says it's born from the dream of a child. I don't know what that means. Fire Joker. This is bad. I really don't like that colour scheme. That's like weirdly faded, like tinted helmet, like slightly tinted red, but it looks kind of pinkish and weird. Like the brownish, reddish you pick for the cape. Every colour looks bad. I mean, I guess except the blue, but like it also doesn't fit. And it's really boring. It's just an invisible guy in a cape, but he's wearing a dragon helmet in a completely different colour. It doesn't fit. Like, the only thing I like here is the idea of the wings being dusts of fire, but they're also really badly drawn, simplistic textures that are clearly flat. Least favourite so far, especially a mix of fucking Joker and Phoenix, like two of the most badass monsters, the most hyped up, rarest, coolest monsters. Also, Phoenix is in this game. Okay, that's wild, but anyway. Wait, why isn't it a dragon? Why did it take me like 3 days to figure that out? So there's not very many Joker fusions at all, actually. Okay, I like this. Beretta. I think it's a reference to the version of like Red Riding Hood that was in a fighting game once. And it's a really cool interpretation of Red Riding Hood, like literally just the hood and a mask, which is what Garly is. But anyway, I like the little pom-pom tassel thing. I like the face being very childlike and feminine compared to all the other ones so far. And I like how the flavor text still says it's genderless, so like it's something that puts on the image of an innocent child in order to hunt down things, but actually is not. I also like how this is the interpretation of what a justice-related Joker would be like. It's cool, it's the best one so far. So this is the thing that makes everything white, and I don't really get it. This seems repetitive of Falco, but like, it's just a robot version of Falco, and it's got really fucking thick thighs, and it's making a pose that, like, it doesn't seem to be a fan service design. I can easily see, like, that's a pose that fan service characters do, and it's weird, and why are its thighs big? I like the helmet, I like the look of that, like, draconic thing with eyes underneath, and, like, the long ears. Take it off and put it on an actual dragon and I might like it. This just looks like Seto Kaiba's fanfic of if the Blue Eyes White Dragon became a buff human woman that would cradle him gently in her arms. And it says it's the most powerful monster ever. Okay, I guess they've retconned in a new most powerful monster ever compared to the ones that were in the previous games. I mean, it makes sense. Pretty much every game is always like, here's a different final boss. It's a shame Mu has never come back after the first game. Like, it was a very cool and creative design, actually, for the most powerful dragon ever. This just does feel like, yep, JRPG final boss tropes have been plugged into a surprisingly thick dragon, I guess. That's the only positive I can give is body diversity in boring mecha people. And it's also such a shame that all the fusions with it do nothing but make the thing white. None of these other traits, like I guess you can't make it robotics, there's already robots. I guess you can't make it half feathers because there's already the Falco, which is supposed to do it, but it never actually does it anyway. But you could have the head, you could put the head on things. The Nessie might look nice with this head. You could make things look paladin-y. I mean, if you didn't also have whatever the armor thing is, like all the armor fusions could easily be for this. I don't know. With future hindsight, I figured out a better way to explain the issue I was having with how both this and Beaclon look. Editing in some footage here from Monster Factory Plays Dragon's Dogma. That game in particular has a really great feature for character creation. You can change the posture of your character to avoid exactly this problem. I think it helps visually explain what I mean.
Whenever I use the term ladylike, I don't use it to mean, look at that woman, her appendages are retreating into her body like a turtle's might.
If a character just has bigger, chunkier limbs, like whether it's muscle or fat or anything, and then you just have them fill the same amount of space as a thin character, you're gonna get limbs clipping through each other and it's just not gonna look correct. The problem that's shared between this and Beaclon, they're both big, but they're really scrunched up. You have the space, why didn't you use the space? Why is all the space contained in your chest cavity? Yeah, this is exactly what I mean. Like, the big legs are gonna clip through the arms. And they do. In defense, like so many details in this game, it wouldn't be very visible on the DS screen, the tiny resolution. If I didn't give everyone else credit for like having good details that were hidden, I'm not gonna knock this down for having bad details that were hidden. I guess that's fair. But then again, I did make this observation just from looking at it before even seeing the animation, so does it still count as something I can use to put the ranking? Either way, it's just a thing I don't like. Oh, okay, it's just... I was going to say that looks like it's just meant to be the actual final boss version, and that's like the purified version you gain yourself, but no, it says it's a mix of this and Abyss. There is not one trait of Abyss. This is, again, just the demon version, and Abyss is not even a demon, it's a psychopomp that takes you to the afterlife. Honestly, the fact we have Anubis and also the Grim Reaper is a bit much for one game. Like, how many afterlives are there? But anyway, I like the idea, theoretically, of this big, spiky super armor, and then the inside the body is a bright different colour and like almost skeletal patterns on the ribs, but again the proportions just really make it bad. Like, it's like those people who draw like, oh, a thick girl when it's just wide thighs and like on a skinny torso. It's just, it feels so bulgy and exaggerated in all the weird ways. Like, especially this, it's much more than the previous when it doesn't just actually look like someone with a big ass. It's like, why are all these spikes so huge? Why is it just, it's just a mess of spikes, it's just a mess of details. It's hard to make out where the arms even end. If this thing was moving, I would not know where any single part was. But I like the colours and I like the idea, just, if this could be like transplanted onto War Greymon or something, I could see the vision. Second attempt to try and explain what I mean. It's hard to say this without sounding rude, but it's like fetish art. If someone's got a kink for one body part, they're going to draw that body part really big and really detailed more than the rest of the picture. This is like if you applied that principle to literally everything except the head. It reminds me of that infamous meme about the buff Riku fan art. I'm not going to post that because I don't feel good like making fun of someone's fan art, but if you've seen that, you know what I mean. Just really tiny head, massively big muscly body, and it's not even like the proportions you'd expect from someone who actually did realistically bodybuild in real life. It's like every individual limb is the maximum highest possible slider in a video game, and none of it goes together. I don't understand this. It's just... this one is confirmed as female. It's just a thick female pterodactyl without wings. And it seems to be a mix of Zoom. Is Zoom a hidden monster in this? Because that was the most basic, the simplest dinosaur monster in Monster Rancher 2. I mean, I guess it's a nice idea to have a dragon goddess. Nothing about this in any way communicates goddess, or god, or strong, or anything. It literally just looks like fetishy, scaly person. The thighs are even bigger. It looks like chicken legs. Hypothetically, the idea of interpreting like the goddess of the earth as a primordial dinosaur or mammoth or something is a cool idea, but you gotta have some traits of the goddess of the earth in the design. I don't know. A really big letdown, especially because of the legendaries. Like, why do they look worse than regular monsters? Oh, okay, this one was Durahan. I don't remember it looking like that. But this was a classic one from the first game. Yep, it's the Dullahan. But rather than being just a headless knight, it's interpreted as a totally bodiless knight here. So how much fucking overlap are we gonna get between Garly and everything else? I gotta retroactively take back a lot of the credit I gave to all the other designs because, it truly does just look like the armor that they all put on. It's interesting how the feather on the head is not a feather on the head, it's just a mohawk, but it doesn't really fit the rest of the design because it's a very normal set of armor. You'd think it would have a very normal set of armor plume on the top. The sword is more elaborate than you'd expect. Yeah, what did this guy fucking look like? I remember him being an intimidating villain. Come on, man. The head is completely better. I was gonna say, I never actually realised that they were totally empty inside the armor. I mean, I knew the idea was they were possessed suits of armor, but I didn't realise they were also a transparent body underneath, so it must have been a lot less visible on CRTs. I gotta say, the fault lies in the first game for being too repetitive of Garly. But at least Joker wasn't also that. Neither design really grabs me, but this one sure does at least jostle me a little. I gotta say, for once, the Monster Rancher 3 design, I like it a bit more. It's simple, but it has, like, the cape on one arm is an interesting idea, the sword having a red mark. Also, it's a bit faded in the fact that, like, there's no real delineation between the very pale silver and clearly some kind of gold markings, but they really fade into it. Like, if this was drawn in the art style of the other games, it could have been really good. I think keeping the cape on one side would be great. It might have also been removed because it's too repetitive with Garly, but hey, I like how it's rendered in the advanced sprites. That does look quite good. And then it just falls apart. It looks like a post-apocalyptic wasteland warrior's head was slapped onto a regular knight. Okay, why is the concept art for the DS version completely fucking different than what we actually got? Even the sword is different. That is the model, and that is the design. Even the thing around the head is different. What happened to you? This more simplified cartoony design would have worked better with the art style of this game. I actually kind of like the online one. Making the torso be this chompy lion thing adds a lot. Again, I don't really get the mohawk, but it does at least add a lot. And the anime design was still quite different to the original one we got, and I like this more than all of them combined. Sorry. None of these have been in any way my favourite. I'm settling with that. None of these are even beyond my average. Everything fused with this looked way better than this. 70 more to go. I am tired as fuck. So I'm gonna throw out my bold, insane suggestion. Why didn't they just make these three monsters one monster? Here is the invisible floating thing with a helmet head monster. It can be a mage, it can be a knight, or it can be a thief. Like, that can be what the Joker is. And then, depending what you fuse it with, you get one of those three. Make there be a reason in the lore for why they look so similar. It's a shame that so many of these just have the name Chaos something in all these rarer ones. But I like this one. This is a vastly improved design every way. It makes more sense for Dullahan being an evil Knight Emperor. This should have been the design that they used. The one in the anime becomes this later on as a second form or something. But obviously Abyss didn't exist back then. For once, I can at least see the reasonable logic in this being an Abyss fusion. I mean, it also looks more like a Zam fusion in every way, but at least it's black and it has glowing patterns of some kind. Those are two traits of the thing, not just one. But yeah, good, great, nice. Not much else to say about it. It looks like Alphamon. I like the jewel in the middle. I kind of like how the symbol on its chest vaguely resembles the mark of Erdrick. The mohawk has been replaced with two spikes, which I guess if they was the other way around, if they weren't vertical, like if they were side to side and they looked like the ears of the Anubis, that would have fit a lot better. It's just colours. I wouldn't say this even looks like pumpkin-based armour. Like, the shield looks like an unripe pumpkin. I'd easily mistake this for just carrots. And it's totally random choices. And does it just have a pancho for a groin? Woo! Hat trick! There are 3 entire models in this game ruined by terrible genital choices. Why is this a thing that keeps happening? It looks eclectic. The only defense I can give is at least it's an unusual type of armor. It's like that body armor that I guess people use for football, maybe? Or like laser tag? I don't get it. It's just not good. The Nessie actually wins. I really like that colour scheme. Those bold colours, that greenish, bluish yellow with the turquoise. That looks nice. It looks like a really complete set of armour. And again, back to the appeal we had in the original, where the armour covers most of the body so you can't tell it's empty inside, so it doesn't look too derivative. The only thing you can really see here is the missing upper arms. And I like the sword being so massive and reminding me of the Iron Knight from Final Fantasy. That's decent. That's good. It's surprisingly good. It's probably the best. Okay, this is overwhelmingly the best Zan in the entire thing, and it's because it looks nothing like a fucking Zan. That's just a different type of armor. That's just a samurai warrior with a scary kabuki head. This looks like it should be a Joker fusion. This is the same kind of vibe. It's scary and it's spooky, and it has like a massive cutting thing. I guess metaphorically is similar to a scythe. Like, it is the thing that just cuts you the fucking half and there's no escape. I like the big fucking hat. I like the spiky shoulders. I like the nice highlights in this, like, dirty, like, greyish, like, not really gold, but like tarnished yellowy metal that is not gold. I like the shield thing being a tortured, crying face covered in spikes. Actually, it makes me realize there's been surprisingly few different types of armor from different countries in all the previous ones. This is nice. It's nice. I just don't see a single thing about that Zan. Unless it's just like having a spike on your shoulder in any way counts as that. Okay, how is this the Joker one? The last one was the Joker one. This is just some fuckhead wearing a cow. This is a budget Castlevania enemy. It doesn't look scary in any way. I'm really sorry. It's an arbitrary set of various armor and then just a skull on it. I mean, I guess I can at least say the torso kind of vaguely resembles the Welcome to the Black Parade shirts. Again. Like, I'm not crazy about it. Like, we just had an evil spooky one. We had a way better, more creative interpretation of an evil spooky one. And this is just a list of spooky traits. This is a Durahan that walk into Spirit Halloween and put on everything at once. And the only thing I like is these wings formed out of a cape, of a scarf. That looks nice. Doesn't match with anything in the rest of the design at all. Yeah, weird. And they also didn't take the chance to make the sword in any way resemblant of a scythe. Like, it could have been a scythe, it could have been a scimitar, like, actually curved like a scythe, it could have been the big chopping thing we had before. It's called Genocider. This does not deserve being, the previous one deserves to be fucking Genocide, but like, obviously it should have a Japanese name. Like, what if the Japanese word for Genocide is put on the last one? You don't deserve to share a name with Genocide Jack. You don't deserve to have a sword that can cut through dimensions. That looks like a fucking boring normal, it just looks like a wonky sword. It looks like a sword that someone cut a piece out of. It looks like a sword that you need training wheels to hold on to with that weird fucking handle. Originally had a whole review of this, cutting it out, didn't have much to say, don't like it, boring. Just want to remark on how weird it is that they have two based on Japanese samurai armor. And what is up with this game and so many repetitive monsters? Dragon, it looks worse than all of the fusions we've had so far. It's very simple, it's like very clunky. Like, that was always kind of a thing, like a limitation I thought of the original games. The models for Dragon and Phoenix were comparatively boring and normal compared to other monsters. Very much just the character. And it also, it felt like they couldn't really fit in the space, they're a bit clunky in their posing. And they've just done the same over a decade later. But there's no justified reason anymore, like, it's not a limitation of a technology. And like, I'm from Wales, I see generic red dragons every day in every one of our gift shops. But even by that standard, this is a profoundly boring design. Why is it doing this like, woo, like wrap hands pose? Why is it called Caucasaurus? Mistranslation of Caucasus, like the Caucasus Mountains, like the region of the world where the word Caucasian comes from. So I really like the wings being, it's a shame they clip really poorly. Like, I hope it's just an emulator error. But I like the idea of the wings being multiple sets of beetle wings, like stuck together in the shape of a dragon wing. And I do like the ribcage being claws, but again, it's not really much a reason, that doesn't really in any way fit with being a beetle. But it's another good classic one of just having the beetle exoskeleton over it, makes it look really nice. I like the mouth, like the widely spaced little spiky teeth instead. And the feet randomly having pointed tips like shoes, that's also cool. I went and checked to see if there was a better worm version. I was like, oh, the only thing that would make those ribcage spikes make sense if it was also again the worm stinger coming back. But no, it turns out this in fact was always a Beacon fusion. It's one of the few ones that was not a repurposed worm. But it actually used to look totally different without any of those stingers, and I don't know why they added them. I personally do prefer this older design. Like, it's got a little scrunched up comical face like a grandpa, and I really like that. I also really love a different colour scheme for the wings, like a minty green, that's so nice. But I can also totally understand why they did change it and why other people would prefer the one we've got. For me though, I'd say both of them like average, bordering on being maybe a little bit neato. I'm torn on this. It seems a bit complicated and a bit hard to register altogether. I like the face. I like the idea that it's just a regular hanger face with like an armor piece in the shape of a dragon mouth around it. But you can also see reasons why that would like not actually be a dragon mouth. It's like it's just a cutting apparatus attached to the robot. And I do again like how it's showing the segments and how exactly it would make it work as a robot imitating the same purpose. I like the wings being similar to the satellite dish thing on the plant, but it is just, I guess it's already a very big design. Making it also very complicated makes it a little bit hard to register, especially when it's rotating kind of fast. But it might look more fun in regular motion in actual gameplay. I don't get a flavor text though saying that it is an actual dragon that was modified into a cyborg. There is no visible sign of anything organic on this at all. And that kind of makes the design worse, the way it is so well designed to be like, this is how a robot would mimic the form of this thing, rather than being any kind of suit where any biological features could fit inside. I'm imagining it's something like, oh, it's got a dragon's left toe, oh, it's got its liver in a jar somewhere in between. Okay, I like this, this is very Digimon. Which is, again, a good take on making a more robotic design thing. I'm not even sure if it's actually a robot or just a dragon with very segmented sections that has, like, a very primary colours, simple vibe similar to a robot. I like the wings being these, like, partial segments that, like, end in robotic colours, or maybe, like, a seagull-esque pattern on it, but with, like, glowing lines. Again, very Digimon, just adding random tiger patterns to it, but it kind of works. It's interesting to see a tiger pattern on a different colour. It reminds me of a tabby cat. And the head being so bold and different is really good. Like, again, what I was saying on so many other designs, like, yeah, it looks great. You have, like, a big bold highlight of a different colour, but you have it in more than one place and use it to highlight different sections of a design, important sections. Like, don't highlight the groin in a big, disgusting mouth. But if there had been other highlights, other parts of the design, it would have de-emphasized from the gross groin. Here it's perfect. It's just like, it's a main big bold thing on the head, and it's a small tiny highlight thing on the wings. They don't take away too much from the head being the focal point. But I gotta say the description doesn't make a lot of sense. It doesn't in any way look like a space dragon. Oh, that's very fun. That's really weird. That's not a plant subtype though. Instead it's the question mark. It's nice. I love the idea how it's not just a dragon with plant powers. It's not just like a robot made of plants. We've already had a robot made of plants before. Here is an abstract concept of individual logs could somehow form together, kind of like a robot, kind of like one of those funny horse stalls for kids. I like how the body is very stiff, all these logs, and the tail is actually moving like it's a real living plant right now. It gives a great aesthetic to it. I love how the fingers are individually cut boards over the wood. A lesser person would have just gone, oh, let's make some like stump roots growing from the logs, and that would have still looked great, but this looks great and creative. Like, no one would think of this, but you did, and it's great. I really like the head. It's a great interpretation of making a plain cylinder into the cutest thing ever. I love the little dotty eyes, very mochi adjacent. What a pal. And then Beaklon. I'm medium on Beaklon. It's a decent design, it's a cool design, it's a very normal design, though it's just like, you've seen 1,000 times, here's the Hercules beetle or the Carpetary beetle or whatever it's called in Japan, but it's standing on 2 legs bipedal, and that's it. It's been in Pokemon, it's been in Dragon Quest, it's been in countless JRPGs. I like the glowing eyes, but it is a lot more normal than the other interpretation of what is seen in other games. Like, it is 99% just, that's an actual beetle in the regular colours of an actual beetle. The only difference is it stands on legs, but that doesn't stand out as very different when so many people already do that. And then like the eyes and not having a visible mouth. It's kind of like almost robot adjacent traits, and the fact it has a similar colour scheme to the robot monster, it's a bit strange. And then, of course, just the fact that it replaced Worm, which was a better design in almost every quantifiable way. It doesn't compare favourably when we just have the generic thing continues to live on and continues to get more generic with every game. Like, here, it has the same cute buggy eyes, but there's only 2 of them and they're relatively small. If they were bigger, if they were more emphasized, if it still had 4 of them in total, it would keep more of the aspects people liked about Worm. Also, just there is now a big gap in the market for an actual, either legless or small amount of legs, like wiggly monster. We just don't have that because Color Pandora doesn't take that stance anymore and Worm is gone. And Naga is technically a snake, but they did a weird thing of making its tail really short and it having almost bipedal-esque movements. So there's still definitely a missing niche for literally wiggly thing. So yeah, I would classify this as the bare minimum I would expect for a beetle monster. It has the same cuteness and coolness factor of a beetle, but I've seen so many that also add something else to the beetle. I am just showing this one. Again, didn't have much to say for a review, but this is the biggest example of the problem I was saying about it's just so bulky and it's so scrunched into a small space. Any one of these details here could have been decent on their own, but all of it everywhere at once, maximum size. It's hard to even make out what's going on. And this is a cursed, deliberately bad Ducken design that is good and it works great for that purpose. The only thing I don't like is the big white thing on the back, and it's not the same texture as the actual texture for the whites. I wonder if that's just an emulation error. But aside from that, like, it's really funny. Here we cram as many disgusting duck faces into this shape as possible. It's a fun interpretation to change the horn into a nose with a second head on it. Or, alternatively, that's the main head and its shoulders have eyeballs and a whole fake head on it, and then it has a secondary set of shoulders beneath that, and then another set of shoulders beneath that which has more heads. It's cursed in a fun way. I like it. It kind of reminds me of a trombone. There you go. Okay, these were not actually in this order. I had to move this over because there literally is a trombone. Or maybe a French horn? Orchestron is a cool name. I like that, I appreciate the idea. And again, it shows that you can just make a golden monster and it actually looks gold. It has shading. But again, it's a pretty basic interpretation of a concept. It is just like the head changes and the head is cool. The rest, it's just a recolor. I feel they could have gone more with this, like made it more robotic to go with it being a trombone, made it a whole one-man band, the other limbs are made of different instruments, or at least put a pattern on the back of the wings, like a music note or something. But I do like the head, it reminds me of Meta B from Metabots. And it's a fun idea to be riding around on the back of this monster and like pressing the buttons to make little toots. Again though, not a very good Garly combination. So most of the ones so far have just been, we add yellow to it in general. Oh, that's cute. That's a good interpretation of a hanger. Hangers have been doing a really great job at being the basic same thing, but making it good. Like, they don't just put the texture on, they model the whole thing to think, how would you actually make a machine that would work this way? Like the only thing being silver and glowy green is the inside the hands. Under the armor, that's what the individual mechanical parts look like. I love the nose being like a combination of a cannon and like a piping tube. I love the face, it looks nice and curious, a little, mouth at the bottom. Very fun. Okay, that's wild and insane. Don't let looks deceive you. This is the soul of a dead man combined with top quality eggplants. Do not profane the dead with your laughter. That's great flavor text. I think that's probably been changed in the translation because this is an actual Japanese concept. Making the eggplant horse or the cucumber horse on, I think, the festival of Obon is like, and here you make the horse that will carry the souls of the dead back to the afterlife after they've come to visit you on this day and to be happy and proud and see all the progress you've made. It's like, it's heartwarming in context, but it's one of those things that, yeah, it sounds funny if you don't have the context. I wonder how many traditions we have in English would make no sense to a Japanese person. Like, do they find it funny we eat gingerbread men? The terrifying winter rituals! A bearded home intruder breaks into your house and leaves gifts. But you must placate him with offerings of milk and cookies and carrots, lest he place fossil fuels into your socks. But yeah, there's a really good, fun, insane design for, again, logical ways you could create a mecha out of combined pieces of vegetable. The little toothpicks holding them all in place. I love the way they made the big eggplant in the front be like a pompadour, and the back is kind of like a traditional delinquent cape. It gives a whole extra sense of personality to it. And the feet being the tiny slices of a cucumber. Loads of different sizes and shapes and slices of both of these vegetables. A great combination of where exactly to switch from the eggplant to the cucumber to give highlights to the arms and the feet. I feel like I could have also maybe made like a little bit on the face, like just stuck in a tiny cucumber nose or something. But I do really like, I was like, oh, why are the eyes diamonds? But they're like inverse. When you see it turning around, you can see they're inverse. Like, it's cut little notches into the eggplant, exposing the insides, and that's a really fun way of putting a face on it. And of course, I fucking love every line of this flavor text. It's wonderful. It's a great way of spoofing how this just does seem like an insane idea to the English. And the thing is, I love the design because they've made it look like an insane design to the Japanese. Like, even if you know this is based on a very important holiday, you'd still be like, what the fuck is going on here? You've made it a better Gundam. There's been so many Gundam monsters in this game, and this is just, you can do robot in a way that makes it not feel repetitive. It fits well with that log dragon. They both have a similar vibe with the segments. I think they would be friends. But again, I do think this could have also been a plant subtype. Both of those could have been. They didn't have to be the special. Now moving on to the Phoenix, it looks a little better here than it did in the original. Oh, it's got a clipping error with its head. Oh, that's a shame. It looks like it's turning sideways. Only towards the end with these like final few months we've started seeing these errors. That's clearly something going on with my emulator. I don't think the game would have been out and nobody would have remarked on this being a common glitch if it was actually on hardware. But yeah, anyway, the design looks a lot better than it did in Monster Rancher 1 and 2, and it was kind of just exactly basic. It was just exactly a Phoenix. Here it's kind of got these little puffs, it's got a bit of a chickeny head going on. There's some different colours, it's got little purple claws on its feet, it's got slightly lighter highlights and stuff. It was also just a bit of just a plain colour all over. And I like how it's got the traditional Ho-Oh tail on it, the Japanese Phoenix, that's nice. Not much of the rest of it really looks similar to that though, but yeah. Like Dragon, Phoenix and Dragon, it was always a bit of a letdown in the early games that all of the rarest, most legendary monsters are just almost exactly the same as a real world monster from real myth with not much creativity to it. There's nothing that really makes you go, that's the Monster Rancher Phoenix. Now that's a cooler take on a Phoenix. Yeah, I'm not really sure if that's a clipping error or if that's on purpose. I mean, if it is a clipping error, like, it's odd coincidence it ended up looking really cool, but I like the idea that it doesn't have wings anymore, it's just got these bones that were wings, but they're like organized in a different way to be like decorative things attached to its back, like spikes that it attacks with, rather than actually being usable in any way. Like, it's a nice subversion of the idea you usually have. Even though the wings are skeletons, it can still somehow hover. Here it's actually decorating itself with the remnants of things it once had. I also like how it's not really a zombie, it's like an actual phoenix that has just lost its wings for some reason and is now wearing them as a trophy. And I also really like the ear, wing, head plumes becoming these, like, ghostly flames. Everything I gotta say is, the colours of the tail, I like the idea in theory of it being, like, rotten colours, but they don't really match very much with the rest of the design. If it had been, like, a bluish colour similar to the flame in the front, the only other place you can slightly notice the same green is just the spiky stubs at the very end of the wings. So yeah, add more blue or more green. But then again, the flavor text doesn't really match visually what it looks like. I would say this looks like a phoenix that has fallen from grace, that has been terribly injured, and has now become dark in order to take revenge. But apparently it's a magical creature born from evil thoughts, and I like the idea of this. It only takes revenge on other monsters and never humans. I wonder why. Like, is it born from the evil thoughts of humans who hated monsters? Or is it born from the self-hating thoughts of monsters? There's loads of ways you could expand more upon that, but I like my idea better. It is literally just a disabled phoenix which has badass bone ornamentation and goes around fighting with like its beak and super kicks and stuff like Blaziken. And here's Henga. Oh, they only show it in its floating form, and it's not as good as it was in the early games. Like, that was the quirk. Like, Henga, it can fold up to look like a UFO, but it's actually a humanoid robot. I guess we wouldn't have any way of seeing what that form looks like unless we saw it in battle. There really should be a button on this encyclopedia to switch between the two forms for monsters that do have them, which is entirely just this and Colour Pandora. But yeah, can't really comment much on the design. I can't see the design. I did just find it more interesting in Monster Rancher 1 and 2. It did fold up a lot more perfectly into the UFO shape. It is kind of funny in its own way just having the legs left over, but yeah. What I can comment on at least is the eye. What did they do to the eye? Why does the eye not match all the other previous fusions we saw? Like, now it's turquoise, and it's like a really realistic camera, and it doesn't really look like an eye anymore. If I didn't already know this was meant to be, like, a Cyclops robot, I probably wouldn't register that. It loses so much charm. It's like its only facial feature, and now it's gone. In the model viewer, I could see the full design of what it looks like, and I fucking hate it. Sorry. Oh my god. Pull up an image of Henga in any other given game. I think this might just look bad, but I mean, I guess maybe it's modeled with the folded up version as the main in this version, and it'll only turn this temporarily attack, so maybe it's not planned that people would particularly look at it. But yeah, it just looks like clunky floating shapes. It overlaps with Durahan a lot, and there's no recognisable funky face, even though the icon shows a recognisable funky face. And the proportions are particularly appealing for a robot. It just doesn't look good. At least I can laugh, it's got bell-bottom trousers. And let's look at some more of it in the first games. I just like that a lot more. It's like the stylization, the way it goes. It's more quirky and charming and cute. The tiny little arms, the pointy little shoes, the goofy eye, of course. Like, why was that even necessary to change? Like, it's not like it wasn't already a realistic-looking camera. It's also one that's shaped like a really cute eye. It adds this sympathetic aspect to it that they really played into in the anime, and I really liked that. And a little breadstick feet, like the ends of the arms and the legs forming into two sets of legs, as opposed to just the full unchanged legs dangling from the back. I mean, I guess it's creative, but it also doesn't look good, and like, it's not like breadstick legs weren't already creative. I don't know, I just feel like they lost the soul of Henga. And Henga technically has like 80 souls, so that's pretty hard to do. And bonus, here's the anime version. They just look really nice. There's not any significant changes this time. It truly is just drawing in a different art style. And they're slightly more yellow. Oh, all of them are doing this. Okay, I'm not going to really be able to rank any single Hengas. This is a really poor choice to make this for default posture. Like, you should have made the one it shows most often in battle be the default posture. I do like, in theory, the idea of a plant one making it be a camouflage, but I don't know how this camouflage pattern looks on the whole body if it's well placed. I like critically the idea seems to be that these red spots go together to look like fake eyes, and presumably they would be separated when it's all separated, but it's kind of ruined by also having the red dot on the top, so it just looks like poorly aligned textures rather than intentional fake eye marks. Also, they spelled camo wrong in the flavor text. That's the first typo I've noticed in this. There was a lot in the tutorials, though. Its special one just says it's a prototype design. It's a completely different robot in every way. I have no idea what this would even fold out into, or if it even does, but I like it. I really like the idea of it just being a bunch of eyeballs just crammed inside, like, this mostly normal robot-looking shell, and then just the eyes look very fleshy. I like its little feet being, like, actual, like, bird claws. I like it kind of looks like it wears a funny hat. And the bits on the side, when you see it from the front, it kind of look like dangling elf ears, like this, like the goblin equivalent of a robot. I like this more than regular Henga, actually. Just the colour scheme isn't as appealing. It's not as much of an unusual colour scheme from a robot. It's a pretty regular one. But yeah, cool. Again, wish I could see what it fully looked like. Actually, even better, it's the only Henga that looks decent in the extracted model. This is just such a cool retro sci-fi vibe. I love the noodly skeletal legs. I love just the chunks. It looks like a space station itself in a robot form. It's wonderful. Garly is mostly the same, except the texture on its cape is really bad. So, everything I said before stands. Why did they change Joker to be more similar to Garly? It's really overlapping. It's entirely just, here is a living cape monster with an invisible body, and here is a living cape monster with an invisible body, and also floating hands attached to the invisible hands it does not have. I will say, I really don't like the interpretation of the pattern on its cape. Like, that was a cool thing on the original Garlies, is every single one had a strange abstract, like, you can't even make out what's really going on, like, mirrored, reverse, opposite of symmetrical, like, split apart into symmetrical, like, abstract-looking pattern. But here that looks like just funny cartoons of people with pumpkin heads. It looks like chibi people. And also a lot of gaps without the pattern covering it at all. This is what it looked like in the original game, thanks to Monster Fendrick on r/Monster Rancher on Reddit. This good high quality screenshot. As you can see here, yeah, what I was saying about it's mirrored, it's closer together, and there's not so much white space in the middle. And what I thought was an abstract pattern, it seems to be some kind of like Aztec or Olmec or Mesopotamian warrior. Maybe a lizard person, maybe wearing a lizard mask, and then they've got Garly's mask as a shield. That's cool, maybe this is the first civilization that discovered Garly. And I can also say, this is definitely the same design that they are trying to do on the DS version, but why is it so blurry? Why is it so hard to make out? Like, I thought at first, like, maybe it was, like, a badly ripped asset from the first game scaled wrong, or they couldn't rip the asset and they had to try and recreate it. It's probably more likely to be the second, because the colours are slightly different, and it feels like someone who didn't really know what it actually was has drawn it wrong. Because, like, that isn't a Garly mask on its shoulder, it does look like a pumpkin now. I guess there's a mystery that'll probably never be answered. It's strange, it's mostly the same design, it's only the pattern on the cloak that just doesn't look as good. I do always like, again, like the inside of the cloak on the Garlies, the texture is very spacey, that's nice. So everything that sets it apart from Joker. I do like the funny joke, I hate it when you spell it Golly. I wonder if that was ever a translation mistake in any of the games, because I don't remember seeing that in Monster Rancher 1 or 2. Maybe it happened in one of the portable ones. Funny detail on the model, the glowing hands that show up sometimes for attacks are actually always on the model, and they're modelled in the place where feet would be on other monsters. They're just turned invisible until you need them. I actually think the design looks cooler if they were just forever there, if it actually did use them as legs instead of hands and it just kind of walked around on them. That would make it very distinct and interesting compared to Joker. But oh well, we don't get that. So Inverde is another mix of this as yet unseen dinosaur thing, which I think is just for Zoom. I do like the idea here that instead of just a floating mask, it's a floating bust of the dinosaur head. It's just like the top collarbone, and then the head also floats on top. It's kind of interesting. The cape is a bit boring though. I like the colours of the cape, they're very appealing, but there's no patterns on it. And again, it's a bit strange how all of these dinosaur ones are just, it's the dinosaur in the thing. Like, the other one, the goddess one, was just the dinosaur, but it stands. When we get to the dinosaur, I'm going to be so surprised if it doesn't actually look like that head. Like, that was the thing, the zooms in that game, it didn't only have one spike on the back, it had multiple. And I liked that design a lot more, actually, so, yeah. Oh, not many Garlies at all. And none of the other ones have kept the nice quirk of the strangely mirrored patterns. I mean, I like this pattern, I like this elaborate pattern. It goes well in this, like, burgundy dark purple with highlights in gold. It's very elaborate and it's very cool, but it doesn't feel super Garly. This could have been a recolor for Joker. Like, just add a hand holding an object, this could have been a Joker. I'm also not sure why it has this, like, beetle talisman thing attached to the chest. I do like the floating head mask being kind of like, it gives me the vibe of Odin from Norse mythology. I also like the colours on it, it goes well with the beetle armour thing, it just doesn't go well with the cape. It kind of does feel like two separate ideas for a monster kind of slapped together. The head would go well with the cape if the beetle thing wasn't there. And maybe the colours would change, like golden horns or something. Also, this isn't the ultimate monster. This is very far from the ultimate monster. Doesn't deserve that name. Okay, what the fuck? This was Centaur, not Zoom? It's an interesting idea to make the horse half... Is that a draft horse or is that a mule or a donkey? And the human half not be a human but a lizard? It's an interesting idea, but it doesn't look like a centaur. It doesn't make sense, this being the base centaur. This looks like a fusion of a centaur and something else. So I guess that's something like... how can we identify this is not the same as the Zoom? It only has one spike on its head. That's how you know it's meant to be a human man. Also pretty boring spear design compared to the other ones which had spears and staffs. Speaking of which, that's probably the most boring Abyss design we've seen before. It is literally just exactly the same skin over the top and the same staff. Like, but at least the ones we've had before which have had a similar skin, it hasn't been the whole thing. It's been either not holding a staff or it's been holding a different staff. Yeah, this is just And I mean, because Anubis is already based on a dog, it suddenly having a quadrupedal body doesn't even look particularly unusual. It's a missed opportunity, I gotta say. They still have hooves. They could have just changed them into dog feet. That would have really brought the design together. Also, incidentally, it's bizarre to rename it after Bastet, which is a completely different Egyptian god who was the god of cats. Like, that could have been a good one for a mix of a Mew and an Anubis to actually become a cat goddess. But instead, it makes no sense. Say, for some reason, a centaur dog man he does like cats. There you go. Double waste of potential. You know what would be a great mix of Egyptian and quadrupedal thing with a human part on top? Make it a fucking Sphinx! That would have been great! Okay, that's kind of funny. I like it. Why does this one get to have the dog feet I just mentioned? It's like they actually made a more chubby centaur body. It's kind of funny, the centaur body being the part that gets the fatness, and then the human body is kind of smaller. I like how they made it, the paws look like mittens. I like how it's just, for some reason, becoming a construction worker. I do think there are two different concepts at work here. This could have been a funny construction worker novelty one, or it could have been the dog centaur. Doesn't make a lot of sense. They could have added more elements to really emphasize the strange construction worker thing. Like, it could have been wearing a vest or something. It could have been carrying a backpack with bricks in it. But I gotta say, it's really charming how they made the Baku head like so tiny, and it goes in and it looks really nice, looks really fun. This is a lovely Chumby friend. It looks more like a hippo than a dog now. But yeah, I don't get the construction. Maybe it's some kind of pun in Japanese. I think it might be a reference to how you can't get Baku until you've upgraded your barn to the 2nd or 3rd level, which you get a construction work to do for you. But it's a really subtle reference, if so, and I feel it could have been conveyed better if they were actually cosplaying like any of the specific construction worker characters from any of the games who you do actually buy the barn from. Okay, why is it called Junior? Why is its flavor text just remarking on how weird Junior is as a name? Is this a reference to something? I like this design. It reminds me of Dual Magus from Dragon Quest. Really cool contrasting colour scheme. I'm not sure what all these random dots are though. It's kind of cool how it has a belt on, but I mean, they could have done more. They could have made it look like an interesting design for a belt, like a buckle or something. I like how the vibes of the faces kind of remind me of that vampire guy from Guilty Gear. Again, very Dual Magus, very defined head. It's cool, but I can't get them. What are the pink dots? What are they? Are those nipple dots? Are they some kind of Morse code pattern? I get like one on the arm is actually a crossed out heart tattoo, but the other ones don't look like tattoos. Is it meant to be like a really poorly delivered scar tissue? It doesn't make sense for that to be a scar on blue skin. Like, wouldn't blue skin like come out purple or darker blue? Yeah, I don't know what that is, but a really stylistic, great colour scheme. I'm not sure if this is meant to be a grandpa. I would assume from the name it's not. The face kind of gives a vibe of like a fancy butler or something. Maybe if he's younger, he's like a bouncer at a club. Good design, just one little detail confuses me, but it's not one detail that ruins it this time. Hooray! No insight was gleaned from looking at the model in higher definition, except just the lighting effects make the pink parts look white too. But I did notice he had a charming little bow tie, and I think they were actually going for like a blackjack dealer. I'm not sure if this is referencing a character from something else, but a funky, like, lightning demon man who is a butler and a horse. That's fucking rad, I love him. Well, they know a spoiler of what the context is for this monster. I'm not going to spoil it, but I'm going to say, there's some kind of story event where this monster talks, and it's necessary for the plot. So I guess it's meant to be like a civilized monster, and that's why it kind of looks like it's wearing a butler suit. Incidentally, I always found it weird. In the anime, all the monsters talk. In the games, none of the monsters talk, unless it's like a really super special, whoa, this is mind-bending moment. But there was no further context as to what his tummy dots are. I still have no clue. Also, the monster that's story relevant is not called Junior, it has a different name, so maybe that's the origin of the weird name for this monster. It's like, this is the son of plot guy. And yeah, there's a classic Naga. This one I at least understand being like, oh, here's a Monster Rancher one monster at the very end, because it's a classic one, it's cool, powerful, like, evil boss type one in the first game. It makes sense for it to still be rare here, but like, even rarer because we're further away. And that the same design for Monster Rancher 1, it's pretty well translated, I like it. What a good guy. We've been seeing this the whole time with various other ones, but it looks the best on the original. I like how they do the little flat, squat tail to it. It's a very short variation of an Naga, and it's like a nice mix of like being both a snake man and also a lizard man and kind of having these dragony frills to it. Very cool. I don't get why it's being called a battle cyborg in a flavor text when there is not one robotic thing in the entire design. I think there may have been a mistranslation of, was it Jinzo Ningen or something? That was in Dragon Ball, which was translated as androids when it actually meant like artificial humans. Basically a group term that can mean like not only like fully made of robots or like half person, half robot, or a biological creature made to mimic a human. And I think that might have also been the problem with Zam being called a robot before. It could also be like, it could just be a biological mutant made for combat. Okay, why did they mix Medusa and the Cyclops in a flavor text? But it's funny, it's cute. I like the tail having a little tiny little orb on it. They didn't go full out and make it another smaller Suezo head. I like how scrungly the face is. They didn't just put an actual Suezo head on it. Like, a lot of the eye ones were gone for full comedy. Here we have, it's a nice little adorable eye, and the mouth being so wide and so smiley and so cute, and these big funny like mouse teeth. It's really cool. It reminds me of a Cacodemon or a Metroid, but on a whole body. I like it. Oh, I felt really bad. I had to rank it one lower than the base Naga. When I sat and thought on it, like rather than just my first gut reaction, it's got a really cute, adorable head, but not much else of the body has changed except the very tip of the tail. It just being one colour all the way down. It's not very creative as a fusion, but this is like a polar opposite to one trait ruins the design. This is one trait saves the design. It's just so charming. Jungler! It's the jungler! Now this is how you do a good plant mix. I like the spikes on the tail looking really poisonous and spiny. I like so much detailed text to the plant thing. Obviously like a Venus flytrap or something. I like the flowers becoming shoulder pads. I like the head being a Venus flytrap or something, but curled around in the shape to resemble a lizard head. I love how it keeps the appeal of having no eyes and just being a mouth, but now it's in the right place for a head. 100% perfect, no notes. Or I can say that maybe if it had something on the back, something in the shoulder blades might add a bit more, like the tendrils or like false wings made out of flowers. But like, it already does have flowers, just put some more little vine spikes there maybe. It does look not as cool from the back as the front. Yep, again, another good idea. I like how it got various different interpretations of the tail depending on which type of monster it is. It's kind of gone a little bit old by now, like all the hangers being the same thing, but if all the hangers had to be the same thing, it being reasonable, logical ways you could build a robot to mimic this monster, that's a really cool idea. And I like how the head is like a gas mask or a classic cyborg type thing, but like with wide set tiny eyes that are really cute. I am keeping this as a neato rank. I'm not ranking it any lower than all the previous hangers. I'm not going to let my bias of just it being the last one I saw fatigue me out. Oh, I love this silly thing. What a fun reference to like the lifespan increasing bananas in the previous game. They have now become monster. It's nice interpretation. They could have just drawn a banana and animated it like a snake, but instead we have like the peel is opened up to be like a collar that some Nagas have. I like that the arms have the cut open banana just to show off the text and just the fun. I like how the hands are at the very end of the banana, and also as the tail becomes like a rattle. I like how it has the samp of a banana on it. This is how you go above and beyond in making a joke. And I love this guy. And it's both just a quirky idea and also a fun reference to the continuity of the series. And we're ending off on Monal. Very funny to make this the very final monster in the game. Also, weird they didn't align it right, like half of it's been cut off on the top. It truly is just a plain blank rectangle. But I'm not sure about in this game because we can't see the animations on this screen. But in the first game they made up for it by having insane animations. It would transform in different strange ways, like reorganizing the rock, having like a stone face come out of it, turning into a hand and all that. It was a monster that was more appealing for the animations than the design itself. But it also was just really funny animations where it would just flop on someone like a mattress. Not sure if that's a mistranslation of the flavor text though. Why is it saying it's wrapped in a veil? It's not. Is it meant to actually be a mattress with a cover over the top? It doesn't look like that. It looks like a piece of rock. Oh, this looks really bad. You can't even tell it's meant to be a book. And until it turns around, you see the pages. That's really, really tough. That's the worst possible way you could render this text. It's the same way, it's a cool idea. Like, this is why I said you can do fun things with a texture on a model. You can make it a whole grimoire. You can make it the thing that summons Cthulhu. It's a shame. You can't really make out the details. Like, I think it's meant to be that the cover is partially ripped and you can see a spooky pattern on the first page. Oh god, it was worse than I expected. I had a whole section here going, maybe this was like they ripped the textures straight from Monster Rancher 2 and like slammed it on the new model. They didn't realise that they were like lower resolution, so it stretched weird. This monster was created for Monster Rancher DS. This is its first appearance. and somehow it looks like this. Why is it so much less detailed than every other monster in the game? I don't think this is an emulator error, because it looks exactly the same on the wiki. There actually have been pixel mistakes in this set of reviews that I've edited out, like, oh, I falsely blamed the game for something that was a problem with my capture software, and this is not one of them. I feel so sorry for this poor thing. What a shame, what a shame. And then we're ending on the worst shame in the world, is just of a monster where the entire thing is it's just a texture. Here's the just a texture one. And it looks even worse. You can see the exact dividing lines between the gradients, like, but at least it was made by a mad scientist. Also, if you explain all the rest of them were made by a mad scientist, I might have been more forgiving. And so to avoid ending on such a bad note, let's have a little mini recap. Here are all the coveted members of the bestie rank. In the precise order of the ones I think will be the best of the besties, and the bestie besties, and the bestie bestie of besties. I thought so long about it. I think some of these may have changed position in how they were when I was first reacting to them. Like, Jack in the Show specifically, I remember I said that was a mild bestie rank, but that was before I saw all the other ones after it. I would put Jack in the Show just under the medium category for how best and great it is. I really keep debating about Mandrake and Jack in the Show, which way around they should go, and whether each of them is enough to slightly go up into the secondary rank. Anyway, we're going through top to bottom. A first rank is just unquestionably besties, no thought into it. These are the best, these are the greatest. I've put them in order from left to right. Like, left is the design I like the best, and like right is the one I like the least of each particular category, but all of these are in the top most ones I like the best. Just if I had to force myself to choose, I prefer the design of Skeleplant over Fratley, but Fratley I prefer in terms of actual story and attachment and everything that happened to him. Fratley the character is the best of the best, but in terms of just monster designs, the species that Fratley is the second one. And then Eardmew, we know that's the one I love. That was the second one I raised in the game. I love them, they're very cute. And then the second tier is like, ones I definitely feel like I like a lot, but not as much as the highest tier. The ones that really hit my personal aesthetic, I really like scrungly little cute demon monster zombie things. But they're not like standing out in a way in addition to that. Skeleplant is obviously still a zombie thing, but it has like so much creativity to the design, so much thought and feeling goes into it, so much inspiration for stories I could make with this character. And then the other two are like, yeah, that's cute and fun and spooky and scary, and I like it. And then that's why I'm not sure. That's why I thought that Jack in the Show would go a little bit lower. Because it's not quite as spooky, and also it doesn't like inspire big ideas in me. But I really, really like it. It's a really great design for a very cute character, which like mildly spooky adjacent, but not too much. And that's also kind of how I feel about Mandrake. Like, really nice, scrungly design. I love the mouth. I really, really like the mouth. I love how it's got the eye and the flower. Even though it's not a spooky zombie type, it's got the energy. Like, it's a dragon that's got a bit of spooky energy in it. I really like it. I mean, the other two here are just... I realised I voted for a lot of funny novelty food monsters in my bestie tier. After a lot of deliberation, like, this is the order I will put those ones in. And again, I'm not sure about which way around to put them. I keep going back and forth from whether the wood dragon or the banana naga is the cutest and funnest. And like, the wood dragon has a face, and it's really creative how it's put together, but the magic banana is also really fun how it's put together. It's really funny, but the head is just a banana with no eyes, and they're both really cute and I want to really raise them. They both have creative floating parts of a plant arms, but maybe the wood dragon's a bit too complicated, maybe the magic banana's a bit too simple, but the details of the arms aren't too simple, so it bounces it out, but the wood dragon's so much of the same texture overlapping each other, versus the magic banana has some darker parts, and the banana has a sticker on its back, and the head being the open banana. But the wood dragon, it has the wings with the green on them. I could go on forever. Basically, I think those two are equal, and I would put them on their own separate rank of being equal, but I don't want to, because that would imply that they are lower than the other two in the same tier, if it makes any sense. So this tier is two sets of equal monsters, and actually wait, it's two sets of monsters. I can't decide which is above each other, and they're also in the same. It's four monsters that I think are equally good. Why didn't I just say that in the beginning? And then the final tier is ones that aren't really my usual aesthetic, but they're just so good for the design that it really did stand out and really did get in my best tier. I'm really proud that Undyne managed to get like that high up in my rankings when it's just fundamentally one of the monsters I like the base design the least. And I would say eggplant, and see, it's a fun food thing, but also it's like it's not the kind of colours I tend to like. But I do really like it. Like, it is a bit overly detailed, and just when I was balancing, I'm like, yeah, those two, they're just exactly enough to hit close to my aesthetic while also being a really cool, funny fruit person. And then this one is just a little bit lower, but not bad in any way, just not the highest possible of funny robots made of plants. And over Joker Clowns, the Piroro thing, that's the only one in this tier which isn't like, oh, it's not my aesthetic. That one weird is like exactly the opposite. It's like, it's my aesthetic, but they don't do too much with the design, so it doesn't like fly up high along with all the other spooky ones. It's just a really good, solid design, and I like it the most of all the Piroros. But that's the only one here I'm thinking, oh, was I a bit premature in saying it's a best rank? Should it have been a near bestie great rank like some of the others like Flazer? I do think I maybe like Flazer a little bit more than that, and they should both be together in a nebulous in-between tier. But imagine that in your mind, pals, because I'm very exhausted from making all of these videos, so I don't have time to go edit this. And here are the champions of the Drek, all of the worst ones I could find. It's interesting how the majority of them were like, oh, this design is just really badly executed, this is like low quality in general. There weren't any that were like, this is a terrible concept that couldn't have possibly been pulled off. It's just one thing that went horribly wrong. And it's not like I'm averse to like completely disliking a monster design, but I feel like something that takes a good design and then makes it bad just gets me that more fired up. Like, that's in my mind the difference between the bad and the worst rank. It personally offends me. Oh, I also had a lot of trouble categorizing the worst of the worst here. A lot of these tiers could rotate around depending on what your exact definition of worst is. You also notice how I put back in the horrible naked man. Before I was like, oh, is that the borderline between bad and worse? It grosses me out, but I can also see what it's going for. And I was like, oh, but that overlapping texture model thing on the back of the head, it really did bug me. How the model shape is in the shape of the Mochi armor, but the armor texture was not on that part. And also just the fact it looks like a naked man. Yeah, but my personal bias is I'm grossed out by a naked looking character because I'm grossed out by fan service. Unlike the situation with the one that's objectively on the bottom, I don't feel like it's like, oh, anyone would agree that this is bad, even if they personally like nakedness. They would agree that there's a logical reason why this is bad. Yeah, but who would actually find this really attractive? Maybe I am overthinking it too much. Maybe people who are into sex would still be like the same thing, like it's uncanny, it's not the correct proportions for a naked person, like a totally blank groin, like really long legs, really massive feet. It's just strange, like the back stripes also being fleshy, the big lump on the head being fleshy instead of the armor color. Yeah, I think it just inches its way into like, yeah, it's just worse than bad. It's not the worst, it's worse. And then below that we also have a really hard to decide tier. I've put Electri-Eel, still hate that name, a lot higher than I would expect. Like in terms of like factually how bad it is, I would say I would put that on a tier below. Like it's not on the worst tier, but it's definitely not higher than that. But since it's the only one I have any attachment to, and I can see any positive things in the design where I'm like, yeah, that would have gone above my average if not for the one thing destroying it. All the rest, the ones that were destroyed by one detail, it's like, yeah, that would have just been meh or average without the detail. This one's like, this could have been neato at least. And also, the fact of the detail that ruined it for me is that it looks so unhealthy and sick. I just feel sympathy for the poor thing. What did they do to its lip texture? And then next to it we have Gontar, which objectively it's a really minor thing that's bad about it, just the fact that it's so similar to the base design. And when we have worse ones lower down which are also really similar to the base design, in comparison Gontar feels a little bit less crap. But still, no positive traits about Gontar. And the next tier below that is ones which are, like I said, oh, that's really similar to the base design, oh, that's not very creative from the base design, but there's at least one thing compared to the bottom pit where you can see what's there, you can see the suffering that will await us. But yeah, we've got the one that's just a recolor of Mochi, and also it wears pants, and also it has a generic frowny face. That's like 3 things. They're all bad things that don't go well together and don't look interesting, but at least it's the bare minimum of effort. And like, yeah, Nutcho is really boring because the base of the whole species is a thing which looks like how you'd imagine someone being inside a nut, but the nut is instead a pumpkin. So why is the special variant it just goes back in a nut? But at least the nut is a separate and different model. There was some effort that went in. And down at the bottom tier we have Akashic model, just the terrible texturing, but if you had drawn that well, it would have actually been a good and creative and interesting design. It's only just how bad the art is that puts it in this tier. So it goes on the top of the bottom of the bottom of the bottom. And then we have Black Mochi, which truly is the peak of just, you changed one colour on the design and nothing else. I resent this thing forever. And the only reason White Mochi isn't here too is White Mochi was the first time it happened. White Mochi had additional lore in the stories that kind of make it a bit more interesting. White Mochi had a redesign in the anime which at least gave it red eyes. Black Mochi is just, we did the same thing again but worse. And then Gold Piroro is like, at least several details about the Piroro design changed in addition to being gold, but the terrible, terrible texture errors. And the reason it's below Akashic is like, I think even when I saw the design when it was correctly textured, like, that's still something I just think is like meh or boring. It is just the whole thing is one colour. So Akashic wins for like, yeah, they're both equally suffering and awful and terribly drawn, but one of them could have actually succeeded if it was better drawn. And then you all know the one that's going to win the worst forever is a fucking tongue groin. I still cannot get over why this exists, how anyone could possibly think this idea was good. And it bugs me so much because the rest of the design is perfectly average. It would have been okay. I wouldn't have had many strong feelings one way or another, but there you go. And then just one truly disgusting fan service element just crushes it down into the pits of the depths of hell. This would be the worst in the lineup of any video game, regardless of what it is. Unless it was like a game where everyone is disgusting genital monsters, she might be able to eke out a living in fear and hunger and probably nothing else on Earth. So that's that. And then we've got a little wrap up here of every monster that I did not actually include in the reviews because I just didn't have anything to say about them. Every ish monster gets the same ranking. There you are. The majority of them, all the average ones. These are designs I had no comments on one way or another. And now a musical interlude so you can look at the image. Little neutral pal. Little undefined and beautiful pal. I have nothing more to say to you for good or ill, but you'll find the one who loves you, I know you will. It's you out in the audience. You can be the one to give these scramblos a home. And now moving on to the meh category, the second most populated category. Ones I also didn't have anything to say about. That's slightly less than my medium category of good. That is a thing which is mildly bad but not fully so. But I also have no specifics of why. It just didn't look good, particularly. I have no song for this. I have no feelings at all. Except I feel kind of bad for them that I didn't like them. Any monster in the entirety of all these reviews that I said I didn't like, so I want them to find the one person on Earth that likes that design, and I want to go skipping through a field and have a wonderful day. Speaking of which, here are the ones I actually thought were fully bad. It's a very small category. Most of the ones I thought were bad, I had actual things to say about why they were bad, and I thought it was interesting, and it made it into the video. Very brief, quicker summary of all of this. Henga looks bad unfolded, Camo Henga looks worse unfolded. Texture not well done at all. Same for Monal, whole species flat thing with a texture. This one has the worst of all the textures. Duck and Mochi, only one that has any more explanation. I don't like how they did the hat. You can't tell from this angle, but you know Mochi has that armoured hat thing it already always wears. This one has that and then also wears a second hat on top. When you see it from the back, it looks really bad. They're both the same colour, but it's just two hats. Also don't like they make the head segment red. Should have shuffled that around. Okay, here is the final section of things I can actually say. Here are all the ones that were neato, aka above my average of basic medium goodness. Like I would say this is a little bit good. I could have just named the category a little bit good, but neato is cuter. These are all the ones, again, I didn't have enough reasons to explain why they're good, so I'll go through them in a big rapid fire go here if you actually do want to hear my reasons. Tiger ones, dragon ones, similar reasons. Tiger ones, I just always like that pattern. I like the colour blue, looks good on things. None of these did anything special enough to be a higher rank. Highest one of the group, Pixie one. Mildly interesting, it becomes a harpy instead of a dog. Dragon ones also, same reason for both of these. It's just funny seeing Dragon Head on small cute round thing. Again, didn't do anything creative enough to go up a rank. Maid Abyss, I like the idea of a Maid Abyss. I don't like this design for a Maid Abyss. You can barely make out a tiara because the body is also white. I do think it's neat if it fights with a broom. This particular armor design for a Dullahan thing is cool. Don't know why it's a centaur. Doesn't do enough with a design either, it's all one colour. Could have been a post-apocalyptic raider or something. I like cool Lobster Man. Doesn't make sense as a fusion. The lobster monster isn't in this game. It's not with that. Rotate the lobster monster across the screen. I really liked it. Cool Arrowhead. Wish it would come back. Cool Beaklon armor. Neat that it doesn't have any eyes. Reminds me of Steiner FF9. Let down like everything else Beaklon. Too clunky, too awkward, hard to make details out. Suezo Dullahan. It just good. It's got colours. It's got an eye. It got the boots with the furs. I find it funny there's a tiger that's just a regular dog. It's not great because we already have a white tiger and then we have a tiger that's a white dog. They're quite similar and it makes the funniness of the concept not stand out as much. Neat elaborate outfit on mermaid pixie thingy. Got a fancy ponytail, can't see at this angle. Like how it's based on that one myth thing where the guy goes to visit the underwater princess and time runs differently and she gives him a box and the box contains the time and if he opens the box the time comes out and he instantly ages and dies. That was a really cool myth. I can't remember what it's called. Duck and That's a Pumpkin, kinda cool. The colour makes it look like a regular duck. But also very simple, very similar to Pancho. Cool, the special Ogyo looks like a human in a wetsuit. Like the opposite of mermaid, it's made mer. It's funny, it's thin, there's a surfboard. I like the Mahjong colour Pandoras look more like grandpas. They're also in the mob. And they have completely distinct colours for their lovely suits. The fashion mob. And so we have concluded the gargantuan task of making it through this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, I hope it was worth it. But I will never push myself this far again. I think I'll stick to reviewing games with a smaller amount of monsters. This is a sacrifice we must make to make a video even slightly digestible by the human mind. But in the unlikely event that you are as insane as I am and you did enjoy this experience, I'm going to put up a recommendation for the last time I did this. And not quite as huge, but still a Titanic review of every monster from Telefang 2. Little Bonford sleeps, little Bonford sleeps. Why, they are tired as fuck. Give me a blanket and a pal. You know what, give me all these pals. I'll hug all these monsters simultaneously and fall asleep in a big cuddle pile. Goodbye.